This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite teams' out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool that helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/Pixel NBA. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
This episode is brought to you by Columbia Sportswear. It's snowing again, and that wind chill is killer. But you're not worried about that because you shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection. It's warmth perfected with tiny gold dots that reflect your body heat inside and protect you from the cold outside. No snow or chilly temps can stop you now. Go out anyway. Shop the Omni Heat Infinity Collection now at Columbia.com/infinity.
Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
We had a game against Salt Lake. Don't remember what year. After 1 minute, Begeman went after Roger, and he got him bad.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Classic matchup.
I got a nasty one after 1 minute. And Roger went up to Kyle Begeman and told him, and I heard it, if you have more than 1 touch on the ball the rest of this game here, I'm going to end your career. For 89th minute plus overtime, Kyle Begeman played with 1 touch.
Back at it again with another episode of the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. I finally got the start off of this without them talking through it. And
Ladies and gentlemen, the best stuff we never record, just so you know.
So, this is the Shades of Blue Soccer Show. We are the Blue Testament. My name is Cody Bradley. Thad Bell, Robert Russert, and David Greenwald are here. I have a very gas baggery show for you guys tonight. Very sports radio gas bag question to start us off here.
What does a gas baggery mean?
Gas baggery.
Come on, Thad.
Like radio show, hot takes.
Right.
Pointing fingers, placing blame.
Okay. I don't know that term.
No, that was a very good question. You needed to explain it for our audience. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. So that is where we're going to begin. I don't know who I will challenge first with this, but
we're all ready. Bring it.
But while we have you listening here, please subscribe, rate, review wherever you get your podcast. We've slowly been creeping up from a sub 4-star rating here, but if you have been enjoying this, go review it. If you haven't been, yell at us on Twitter instead.
Shouldn't 2-year-old reviews just roll off, man?
Yes, they should wait the newer ones, right?
Yeah.
I think so. So yeah, please go do that. Subscribe, rate, and review.
Yeah, because the more audience we have, the more
it's like
availability we have.
It's like crack watching the numbers go up. So that's all we need. Okay, so gentlemen, this is my gas baggery question for you. There's a lot of upset fans. The season has not been going the way we want. There's a lot of fingers being pointed. But I want from each of you, the one big problem that is plaguing this team this season. The one big issue, the reason Sporting KC is not being successful. So I'm going to go to Robert first because he looks confident and Thad's not paying attention.
Cody, this team is not risky enough. They're not adventurous enough on the ball. They don't take risks. They don't play that ball that may not come off, but if it does, we're in goal we're in shooting range. You know, it's too much of the predictable, oh, we've got to get a good shot, it seems. Oh, I can't shoot with my left foot, so I've got to get to my right. But if I move to my right, then the play all deteriorates and nothing's on. So this team needs to take more risks on the ball.
Taking more risks.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Should we discuss these individually? Does anyone ferociously want to respond to that, or should we go around the table to everyone else's?
I think we rotate around and just see how.
Okay, and then we can we revisit. Okay, then that means you're up, Mr. Thad Bell.
Oh, it had to go my way, huh?
Yeah.
I think the obvious answer with what's wrong this year is just there's been no consistency. Players are old and injured, and they have not been consistently starting.
No. See, that's not gasbaggery enough for me. You can't just blame injuries. There's no excuses. You got to put the right team together. The players on the field need to be responsible. Come on, Thad. Give me something. Who's to blame?
Didn't put the right team together.
Okay, there we go. Coming out strong. He's coming at Vermes strong with the hot takes.
You should have been a teacher, Cody. That was good, man. Teaching Thad how to do it.
David Greenwald, what is the one big problem with Sporting Kansas City?
I don't know how I can pick just one. It's like my children. I love them all equally. But in this case, I hate them all equally.
Whatever. You pick, there's one of them you like better. One of those
like
kids
that.
you like better. One of them you just really don't like.
No, Jack and Teddy, if you're listening, you're both great. I think Robert made it easy talking about the lack of creativity or adventure moving forward. So I will skip the one I really want to do, and it's that lack of cohesion among the front line. We've talked about passing maps and everything on the pod before, and just from this last game, Johnny and Kyrie, 0 passes to one another.
Oh,
Either way, not great. The whole sales pitch for Kyrie being a starter was that he was so good at creating space and combining with the wings and creating opportunities for the wings to score. But if he's not going to be combining with them, and I know he's coming off of an injury and everything, but the lack of cohesion among the front line is preventing us from getting good attacking chances, creating shots, opening up space for other players, and that's why we don't have any goals.
So, but shouldn't Kyrie have fixed that lack of cohesion? We had Vojinovic running around out there. He's brand new, doesn't have much time with the team. So we go back to Mr. Old Reliable. We don't know why, but it works, right? We win when Kyrie's on the field. So what happened, David?
Well,
that argument kind of went out the window this game. It was like, it always ends up working.
With Kyrie in the
It doesn't always end up working.
It's like, it always ends up working, but if he doesn't get called for a foul when we need it, then everything goes out the window.
That would be nice if the foul got called when he got pulled down. But
we'll get to that, but let's let David finish here.
Well, I mean, I think Kyrie was on an island. He didn't get a lot of service. We lobbed a lot of balls kind of forward to him, hoping that he would either, win the first ball or we'd be able to pick up a second ball. There just wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot of service to him. But part of that, I think, goes back to Robert's point, which is that we don't really have a lot of creativity.
Exactly.
I like Felipe. Felipe is an interesting player. He's more dynamic than Voltaire and certainly more than Rosell. But we don't have that Benny or the Felipe Gutierrez style midfielder who can really create chances, who can, pick out a pass, who can shift the defense around. And with that, it allows Kyrie to get kind of marked out of a game. It forces us, especially when, Vancouver was pressing us really hard, we were just lobbing balls ahead. It was, back to 2015 Dom Dwyer days, Dwyer Island. And I don't think that that's a recipe for success for Kyrie. I don't know that there is a recipe for success for Kyrie, but that certainly isn't it.
I let you talk too long there, and you morphed into my one big problem a little bit there. You kind of
mistake.
You kind of took both the offense and the midfield there as the issues.
If you had gone through MLS Next Pro podcasting, you wouldn't have made that mistake.
Okay, that was my mistake, was not going. No, mine. The lack of creativity in the midfield is what it comes down to for me. This league has been growing for several years now, and teams are bringing in fancy-footed midfielders from all over the world. And I think that's one spot that this league has really progressed talent-wise. And with the departure of Gutierrez and an injury to Gadi Kinda, all of a sudden we're Sporting Kansas City is left without there's a big hole there. There is no Benny Feilhaber, and like I'm saying, the league has been progressing. I don't even know that Benny Feilhaber would be enough at this point, right? Like there's another step has been taken, and you mentioned Felipe Hernandez. Yes, he is. He's been fine. He's played okay, but this team needed him to be a step farther this year. He hasn't taken like this big step that I think.
He didn't play for half a year though.
Well, I know, but like the bottom line there is like, if the team has had these injuries, it's in a spot, and they needed him to step up and fill a role that he has yet to do. At least I'm not saying he can't or won't, but he's definitely not doing what the team was going to need from him this year.
Yeah, I don't know that he's not going to be the Gadi Kinda, which even Gadi's not a 10. I mean, he's an attacking midfielder, but he's really not a 10. Benny was the closest thing we had to a 10. Even Felipe Gutierrez wasn't really a 10. He was more of a Gadi Kinda than he was a Benny. So, but with Felipe, I still got to give him a little time. I mean, he's 6 games into playing after he didn't play after June last year. He's got to get some time to get back. If we get Kinda back, if we can get Jean-Yves rolling a little bit. I mean, I'm not even trying to address necessarily one thing, but I'm in it's not great right now, but we've also seen this team be really great and then all of a sudden be mediocre in the past. The same team can be mediocre and all of a sudden pretty darn good once Shallowy starts scoring, Johnny starts scoring. Yeah, Shelton, we know he's not going to score a ton. Yeah, he's not always going to combine with the other wingers. But that's never been his strength. I mean, people say that's what his strength is, but it's not. It's all the work he does all over the field, and he's not the best passer on the field. He's not the best header on the field. He's not the best goal scorer on the field, but he works his freaking ass off out there. And he should get more calls that he doesn't. But all that ends up, if he's not at his best, Johnny's not his best, Shallowy's not at his best, we don't have the best players in the midfield right now. Roger's been starting every game or almost every game. Love Roger, but we want to see him a little more, or a little less, a little more rested.
So we got 10 minutes in of gasbaggery before we got to our level-headedness responses of.
Well, I tried to go with level-headed to begin with.
But
hey,
there's injuries.
All right.
I've got more.
I got to finish up because I'm going to go back to.
Go.
I want to see more Cam Duke. He's the one guy who is more creative in the midfield. Yeah, he's not going to be the most physical, tough guy that's going to knock people on their ass like Roger could, but he is the more creative. He's more like Gadi Kinda than anybody else on the field at the moment. Felipe is more like Roger than anybody else on the field at the moment.
So you were saying you still have to give Felipe time, and yeah, I'm not saying we shouldn't do that or that I've given up on him, but just to the point that I made at the beginning of this, where other teams have a world-class player running around out there, and Sporting KC, our midfield is clearly just not at that level. And I think while we have these guys like Roger can still run around and get stuck in and win the ball back with early tackles and things like that, but they're not going. We're never going to control a midfield battle if we don't have that guy that can, once that tackle's made, actually make a meaningful pass to gain possession and keep possession.
Who in MLS would you pull?
Oh, damn it!
Aha! You say there's world-class players out there in MLS.
The second I said that, I was like, someone's going to challenge me on this, and I'm screwed.
Okay, go ahead.
Zelarayan in a second.
There we go. There we go. I got support. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Teamwork there.
There's one.
Carlos Heel.
Carlos Heel.
Yeah.
Carlos Heel, yeah.
There we go. Haha. I'm winning.
Okay, there's two.
Other than his
That's wavering.
extreme
it's not
problematic activities down in Argentina, Emmanuel Reynoso. I mean, I wouldn't want him given his future jail time, but prior to that, excellent player.
Ladero, would I even take?
João Paulo.
Seattle's entire midfield. All three guys would take.
All right, so okay.
See, so I think I feel good about my point here. That at least the talent right now in the midfield is lacking.
Demir Krylock.
Going off your point, you realize at this point last year,
Bruce Neck.
we had Alan Polito playing. We had Gianluca Busio. We had Ilya in that midfield as well, except for Ilya had to move back to the back because Izzy got hurt.
Blanco.
Okay. Thank you.
Jack Price.
Jack Price. Oh, no.
Ooh, Kellen Acosta.
By the way, Cody's looking it up on a site.
Mark Anthony K.
So you got to realize that the drop-off in talent, like you're saying, Cody, is pretty dramatic with those guys not in the lineup and no Gadi Kinda. Yeah, for sure. And Felipe Hernandez and Cam Duke are never going to be a Zella Rayan, let alone a Gianluca Busio. We just have to understand that. Yeah, and I agree. We do need an injection in there of more creativity.
He said it. That was the point I was trying to make. He said he was braver than I did. He actually said it. But yes, that's what the point I'm making. Like we said at the beginning of the year, it's like, all right, Felipe Hernandez, big opportunity this year. Like if he has a big year, that would be huge for the team, and we're still kind of waiting for it. And I'm not putting this on just him. It is a little bit to like where we landed at with that of, yes, there's been injuries, but the backups to these injuries have not quite been up to snuff. So it's not just on Felipe, and he could end up being fine, but there's just, I think that's going to continue to be an issue all year long. And Gadi Kinda will help a lot.
Yeah.
But, I still think
he's not going to solve all the problems. I mean,
right.
I've seen people advocating for, this player or that player. We never should have let Ilya go because he scored a couple goals. All of those are not one single piece of paper answer. You know what I mean? They're not. The answer is everybody getting healthy. Maybe it is another player. I don't know what. And after that.
Well, let's use last Saturday's game as an example. For this system to work with the players we have to have nearly everybody on the field having a good game. Here's what I mean. Ben Sweat. I have documented at least 9 times where he failed to make a risky pass, a penetrating pass that he could have. And he didn't do it. So if we've got that left back doing that, we've got, Johnny and Daniel on their game. We've got Kyrie playing as well as Kyrie can play in the midfield holding down like, an anchor. We're good. But we didn't have that, and we haven't had that all season yet.
I don't think Ben Sweat's actually the real starter. But
well, I don't either, but just as an example.
No, yeah. my guy Logan Ndenbe needs to rush back to this team. I am over Ben Sweat.
I think he's a quite decent backup or depth, but I think Logan Ndenbe is the clear, should be the number 1 starter at left back.
You didn't like Sweat getting beat repeatedly behind him? You didn't like that?
I mean, Sweat's a better backup left back than Amadou Dio was.
Exactly.
Ding.
But the question is raising the floor of this team what the team needed, right? Was getting improved backups better for us, or did we need to raise the ceiling on the team? And I don't know that I think Jean-Yves is a great backup future starter. I'm a huge Jean-Yves fan, but is getting a backup left winger what the team needed if we wanted to finally break through and get to MLS Cup. And the same issue is true in the midfield. I think targeting Felipe as being, let's say, I don't even want to say we were talking about him as a weak link, but the issue isn't is Felipe playing well or not, because I think Felipe is playing just fine. It's that Felipe is playing the exact same role, really, that Remy Voltaire is playing. And are we set up for success having 2 guys who are functionally the same player? Because Remy and Gadi are very different players, even though they're both 8s. Gadi being a little bit more attacking minded than Remy, but they functionally play different. Whereas Felipe is playing real similar to Remy. And then when we slide Remy back into the 6, well, now Roger and Felipe are playing very similar roles. And so then we're missing out on that attacking creative player, which is Cam Duke, Gadi Kinda, or my personal opinion is that we need to go out and spend and go get one of these dynamic number 10s.
Did you catch that Vermes called the position a 10 at halftime of the game? Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
I skipped through that. I didn't listen to halftime.
He called what at halftime? A 10?
He said, yeah, we're going to put Walter back at the 6, Roger will be the 8, and then Felipe will be at the 10. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
And Felipe is more creative and dangerous than Roger is in that case. Right. But I mean, if you're looking for somebody to be more of a 10, then you probably need to put Cam in.
Okay, so there was an April Fool's joke that Shallowy transferred. Somebody posted, called her on Facebook or something like that. Are people going to lose their shit if that's what happens? Because it very well could happen halfway through the season.
Absolutely, people would lose their shit. Also, absolutely, that would be the 100% right move for the club to make. 100% we should sell Daniel if
they can get stuff.
If we can get a 7-figure transfer fee. Absolutely.
Okay, well, we're interviewing him tomorrow, so I'm going to tell him that you said that.
I won't be there, so I can hide behind the microphone.
David, you said something earlier. You asked that question about Giannis, who you're a fan of. Is that what we needed, while we're talking about a hole in the midfield? I think it's just, yes, I think we did need that. I think just with the problems in the midfield, that just makes it glaring. And I don't think it's like an either-or situation. I think we just are now seeing that they definitely needed both. Because can you, just imagine instead of Giannis, the player we brought in was a midfielder. We'd be saying, well, shoot, we need someone to come off the bench or some more firepower up front. It was what the conversation would be. So, yeah, it wasn't that, is that what we needed? I think it's clear we did need it. But there was another signing that needed to come.
Yeah, because with Polito out for the year, they had to get more forwards. They had to get more guys that could play forward. Now, Giannis can slide into the midfield, but he's better as a winger. Nikola Vujanovic, I still think he might ended up being decent.
That's a fine. That was a rough one. I think we were all getting, but we're getting to the point where we need to get that name down. That was a rough
Nikola.
one. Okay.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple: products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Anyway, I think in the right moment, I think he will score us some goals. I think when the team's healthy, he'll score some goals. The team's not healthy, so it's like when the team is at its best, we could swap out a player and bring in one of the homegrowns, and they play fine. But when you're relying upon 5 of them, there was a point last year when there was 5 of them, and the team wasn't great because they weren't all up at that level. And back to what you were saying with, did we need to raise the floor? Yeah, we needed to raise the floor. We needed a better backup at left back. We needed a better left back. We got both. We needed backup for Polito because he's out. We got somebody.
Well, I think that's actually an interesting conversation that could probably take up a whole podcast, because at one point that was very clearly the tactic of the small market team here was raise the floor. And because they know they're not going to compete with the high level spending, so it was and they were kind of building a model franchise for MLS because of that mentality. And now I think that's just an interesting question to have, because the league has been changing so much, and is that still what a model franchise should be doing?
That's a good question, but yeah, it was the model for Kansas City. Incrementally improve every position every year that you can, right? Be it through growing your own or bringing somebody in or a free agent or whatever. Free agents really haven't been all so good in the past, but It was the model. Then they go out and spend $9.5 million on a striker who, when he's good, when he's healthy and playing, he's damn good. And because he can do a lot of the stuff that Kyrie can do, but he can also put the damn ball in the net.
Well, I love that we're trying to create homegrown players, and it allows us to do things by selling Busio. It creates an influx of cash that we can use to buy more players. But there has to be a balance between it, right? Because if you look at the clubs that have been producing the most homegrown players, Dallas doesn't win.
Nope.
Red Bull doesn't win. We are more successful than both of them, and we have more balance between having homegrowns and just churning and burning through them for influxes of money. But if you look at the teams in this league that have been really, really successful over the last few years, Seattle has a DP striker. They have a DP number 10 in Nico Lodero. They've got functionally a DP player in Jordan Morris, João Paulo, and Christian Roldan. Their ceiling is so much higher than most of the other teams in the league. Toronto, when they were on a roll, it was insane to look at their salaries because you had Giovinco, Altidore, and Bradley each making like $4.5 million a year, and then you had some guys on academy contracts making like $50,000.
Remember, we tried to get Bradley,
but those guys, that team was
That was
so
fake.
dominant.
That was fake. They didn't actually try. They leaked that.
Sorry,
They gave him a call.
But there was a reason that Toronto and Seattle played back-to-back, skipped a year, and then another MLS Cup against each other, is because their ceilings were so much higher because of how they spent. And if you look at how we have our team set up, we spent huge on Polito, and then we're not paying huge transfer fees to bring in midfielders who are creative, like a Nico Lodero or like a peak Sebastian Giovinco. And so I think that sets up a hard ceiling for this team where we have to play perfect. The system works. It can work for sure, but it requires us to play so much higher because one player is not able to take over the game like a Zelarayon can.
Well, that was my next thing. Okay, is it a system issue then? Because most people are going to say the system isn't built for a number 10. So do you think the system is still working, or it just requires so much everybody to be on and everything to be clicking for it to work?
I think the system works just fine. I think when the team had Benny from 13 to 16 played at a very elite level, and he was creative, but he was willing to play to drop back and defend. Right now, the ability to find a creative mid who's willing to defend might be hard. That might require a lot of scouting. And if the club wanted to send me to Europe to go look for that player, I would be happy to volunteer. But the system works just fine.
I'll stow away in your backpack.
It's not like we switched from playing like a true, South American 10 who just plays up top and doesn't ever defend. Benny played that box-to-box role just fine, but he had that ability to move the ball, to shape the pass, to see it, and just little things like he learned from Ike that if you hit the through ball midway height on the body, that it was extremely hard for a center back to defend against. And I think Gutierrez probably had a little bit of that to his game also. Gutierrez might be the best midfielder ever on the team in terms of a fit for the system. I don't know that we have that guy on the team right now. They're all fine. They're all good players. None of them are objectively bad. I just don't know that we have anybody who truly allows our system to hit its ceiling.
Summer transfer window.
Okay, so how about as a group here, we define the one big problem. We're on midfield issues and roster organization, roster building. So that's not so. Thad's putting it on Vermes. Everything is Vermes' fault.
Well, Vermes is the ultimate, the buck stops here guy, right?
He's the coach and the technical director.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he's been terrible because and that's not what I'm saying at all. I mean, I still will say that there's a lot of it has injuries and a little bit of bad luck because they are a small market team. They spend some money. They got terrible luck with getting Polito.
See, that's what sucks is I think all of us at this table just come down to that. Like you just said it. It's injuries and a little bit of bad luck.
Well, same thing with Felipe Gutierrez, his injury that occurred.
Yeah.
We need someone who's always complaining about this team. We need someone on the show that is angry at this team all the time.
Well, I'll just
Plenty of commentators.
so that we can make fun of them. How about Mike? Because is Mike always grumpy about this team? Could he come on and give us like an angry take each time?
Bit.
Well, can I just say I hate the idea that we're a small market. I understand this is not New York City, this is not LA, right? There's a finite amount of people in Kansas City. I get all that. I do. But the idea that this ownership group doesn't have the money to spend.
Andy Mukhtar. Sorry, I had to add another one.
The idea that this ownership group doesn't have the money to spend, and I'm not criticizing them for not spending because it's clear that when Vermes asked for the money, they gave him the money. But the idea that we can't afford a $5 million player like Seattle can.
They can.
We absolutely can. And
there was years that the ownership was telling Peter to go spend more money, but he didn't think he needed to do it, for one, or two, he'll never overspend in his mind for a player. He would never do it before. I think he did overspend on Polito.
Well, and slash number 3 to that is they would mention the difficulty of convincing a player to come to Kansas City, which is, I think, what you were getting at, David.
well, I mean, everybody.
And that was the right fit.
Right.
Anybody will come for the almighty dollar. Like, you pay somebody enough money, they'll come. But the other part of it is, and this is not really my criticism of ownership, because I do think the families will spend the money. But if anything, like the Royals showed this, right? And sorry to go into a baseball conversation, but like this city loves our sports teams. This city absolutely loves these teams. And so when they are good, the fans come out, they spend money. They spend money on shirts and hats and jerseys and hot dogs.
I would buy a Royals hat so fast if they made it back to the World Series, but probably not until then.
Well, and so for years, the argument for the Royals was we're a small market. Nobody comes to games, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as the Royals were good, Kauffman was packed. People were buying stuff. If Sporting puts out a competitive team every year, Children's Mercy Park will be packed. There will be people standing above the cauldron, spilling beers on all of us. Everybody in Kansas City will be decked out.
Extra 1,000 people will be.
Everybody in Kansas City decked out? No. But okay.
A ton of people will be in Sporting Kansas City kits. They will be wearing scarves, and that's what's going to grow the popularity of the game. So, regardless of who the decision maker on spending the money, they need to spend the money. And I said this on the pod earlier, or maybe it was off pod, just banter. But frankly, I think we should have just cut Polito, eaten the contract, and just bought another DP9. We're not going to sell him for a massive profit. We're not going to flip him like we did Busio.
Well, that was one of the questions at the time, right? That was, that option was thrown out there on if that was like a feasible thing they should do or not. And yeah, it seemed I was thinking no way should that be the case at the time. But as more time goes on and things don't go well, it's looking like, okay, we probably should have.
Yeah, but we just don't know. There's a lot of finance stuff that we don't know, and I do wonder. So, little speculation, okay? They never put Polito on a season-ending injury list. He's still not on the season-ending injury list. If they had done that, that would not have opened up a DP spot or anything like that, so it would not have helped. However, there are certain windows where they can buy him out and let him go. And with a summer window coming up, I mean, because we're still in the initial window, I think, till May 1st or something. I forget the exact date. But anyway, then the next window opens up in like June. It's like not very much difference. So there is a feasibility that they could just, we aren't doing what we need to do. We need to add a DP. And at that point, they would actually spend the money to buy him out. And they might also be waiting at that point to say, okay, what does his healing look like? He had a surgery that is not one that everybody comes back from. They don't really want to. This isn't something that they're always like going out and saying, oh, here's all the details, right? But it's essentially the same surgery that Jimmy Medranda had. And it took him really 1.5 years, 2 years to get back to where he was doing pretty good. He had little starts here and there. One of the big differences is, though, Polito is a fitness geek. I mean, fitness nut. Jimmy was a physical specimen. He wasn't necessarily always working super hard. I'm not trying to badmouth Jimmy because I love the guy, but if anybody could come back from it, Polito could. But so maybe they're waiting for a couple months and saying, okay, maybe this sucks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, there we go. Got back to it there at the end. In the middle of that classic long Thad story, there was some really good information that like you're right, that they could still make this decision.
Yes.
So I'm glad you revisited it there at the end. I was about to jump on you for for burying the lead there of that story, but yeah.
Yeah, I try.
Okay, so on Shallowy, let's get it right. He can go on a free halfway through the season.
He can sign a contract but not leave on a free.
Right.
I mean, he can sign a contract and leave on a free at the end of the season.
Okay, so we still have a chance to transfer him and get some money out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens middle of the season. Obviously, Johnny East takes over left wing, and then we spend that money on attacking 10 or another number 9 or in combination with something else that's going on maybe. And also this idea.
Or another winger.
Does Peter have to wait until, okay, will Felipe be the player? Will Cam Duke be the player? How's Gadi going to come back from his injury? Do you think he's waiting those things out until he's smacked in the head and realizes, I've got to make a move, I've got to do something?
Well, that's a good point, but I think the further this goes with losing games, his hand will be forced on that, don't you think?
Yeah, and I don't want to say he's waiting to get smacked in the head, but one of the things he's always said is, I want to see this team for 10 games before I really make decisions.
Right.
We're 6 games in. It doesn't look pretty. 2 wins have both been at home. 4 losses have been all on the road. They can get points at home if they're getting back in sync and getting points at home. It may not ever smack him in the head, quite honestly, but there's still a lot of things to wait out, okay? We've seen a couple years ago Seattle start off terrible and then make a change in the middle of the season and go to a final, right? Because sometimes those high-priced guys that Seattle's had didn't always perform, and then halfway through the season, boom, everybody's playing well. They go on a good run, and they're in the MLS Cup. It does happen, so I'm still far from eliminating that possibility. But we're 6 games in. I know that, I always want to write an article that says to panic or not to panic, right? And I say not to panic. We still have a lot to see. We're 6 games in. People have not been healthy. I still don't know when we'll ever get Kinda back. I'm assuming we get Kinda back. And then we have another transfer window that if everything's going shitty for the first 12 games, they can make a big move.
Yeah, not to pimp one of my own articles because, I'd never do that. But a couple articles ago, I did say time to panic is going to be at the end of May. 10 games are done. We got a hard road trip after that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Shameless plug.
We're in agreement. You whore.
Exactly.
Thad, I have had enough of these excuses. We've been saying this about this team for years. Just they just need a striker or the bad referee. Just some excuses. I'm tired of this. We're just off the mark every year. It can't just be injuries. We've been saying that excuse for the majority of my life, it feels like now at this point. Come on. There's no excuses.
Your point?
I trailed off.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to be our negative Nancy.
Well, I mean, that does lead to talking about this past game and Foytis Bazakos, I think, making a couple really bad calls.
Yeah, how have we gone this long without getting to the best thing that has happened? That like the number one thing that I would want to talk about after a weekend like this would be Kyrie Shelton's tweet or Kyrie Shelton's Instagram story.
By the way, can we call this segment Gas Bag or Gas Light? And we try to convince each other that the team's fine.
Yeah. There we go.
But
we gaslight all of the negative Sporting KC fans.
Kyrie,
This is your fault.
He gets yanked real hard and doesn't go down, which is something we praise him for. At least I praise him for all the time.
All praise Kyrie.
Well, hold on. Before we get into it, so what we're referring to,
a stained glass.
Well, it's not a catalyst, but okay.
What we're referring to is Kyrie Shelton after getting dragged down just outside of the box / in the box. Should have been a foul, very blatant foul to many people, including Kyrie Shelton, who took to Instagram on his story and just as blatantly as you could imagine was blaming the referees, hating on the referees. Got to expect a fine is coming for Kyrie. We're recording here Monday, and there's no word on that yet, but got to imagine Wednesday. A fine is coming soon.
Wednesday, probably.
Wednesday, probably. Yeah, okay.
It started though in like the, I think, 6th minute, where he was chasing a ball down the left side, and I mean, very obviously gets tugged on twice by the Vancouver defender. Doesn't go down, fights through it, ends up the ball gets turned over. Vancouver, comes back down, and it was a pretty boring first half. But that's a very clear yellow card, right? To get pulled on from behind to stop his ability to potentially get a breakaway. A few minutes later, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, there's another play along that exact same side where Kyrie goes down, and Bazakos actually calls the foul on Kyrie.
Yep.
Followed by then at the end of the first half, maybe at the beginning of stoppage time, ball over the top, Kyrie's in on it. There's clearly a hand on his right shoulder. You can see that he gets tugged on, and he goes down, and maybe he goes down easy, maybe he doesn't. I think Jake said that he went down arguably a little easy.
So yeah, that's key there. Arguably a little easy, because Kyrie doesn't ever do that, because he's a strong dude, and he saw earlier in this game that wasn't working. I'm being strong. I try to stay on my feet. I'm not getting rewarded for it, and that right there is one of my biggest pet peeves. Beyond the way we treat keepers and talk about keepers, is my biggest pet peeve of this sport is, if you want to cut out diving, reward players who stay on their feet and try to get that shot off. You should get the shot, and if it doesn't go in, you should get the foul as well. That seems to me to be the better option for this than just giving yellow cards, because we've been doing that, yellow cards for diving. We've been doing that for years now, and nothing is progressing.
And the yellow cards don't benefit the team that was fouled. They benefit some team down the road when the guy gets another yellow card or accumulation.
I've said this before, and that doesn't seem to be that crazy of an idea for me. If you want players to stay on their feet and keep running through a play, reward them for doing so, and then don't punish them because they got off a bad shot for trying to stay on their feet. Why? You guys are looking at me in support here, but like, what the hell? Why doesn't FIFA know this? What is going on here? Why are we still doing this? Why? Oh, it drives me insane.
Yeah, I mean, because here's my real question, is if they had called the foul, right? And it probably was not a PK. It probably started just outside the box, right? But if they had called the foul, would anybody be really that up in arms that the foul got called?
No, and that's why this gets to me.
Ditto. I'm a notable referee hater. I hate all the referees.
Somebody would be like, he went down easy, but still,
Question, is Kyrie less likely to get a call because he is big, strong, and one hell of a handsome guy?
100%. I was just having this conversation with a bunch of people watching the Final Four. Big, strong players get punished for that. And I know that as a little skinny guy playing sports my whole life. I would get fouls, just someone would bump into me, I'd get knocked over. They would get a foul called on me.
Diver.
But can you imagine?
You're part of the problem.
The Final Four, by the way, Thad, it's a basketball reference.
So yeah, guys, we're recording this Monday night.
I didn't know the NBA was playing.
We're recording this Monday night, and I said we got to do it early because the basketball game is on. And Thad, unsarcastically, genuinely asked twice, I should note, what basketball game. Had no idea. No idea.
Oh, college. Oh.
I even said national championship. Didn't understand that. Still didn't get it.
And my sarcasm was effective.
Well, yeah, I was on a roll there. You took me off my roll, but I don't remember where I was going with it.
So anyway, Kyrie is big, strong, handsome.
Yes.
He doesn't get calls. And just going back to last year, he got hit so hard, he had spleen damage. Mm-hmm. And
no call.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the force with which you must foul LeBron James to get him to move in a way he wasn't expecting?
Well, there's really one spot.
You see what I'm saying?
But that's also why there's increased flopping in the NBA. It's because LeBron will drive the lane, he'll get hacked, and he has to be more theatrical to show hey, I did just get fouled. I'm just bigger and stronger than everybody else. Kyrie tends to have the same problem. He plays through so much contact that a smaller player, I don't know, like Dom Dwyer. Let's just say Dom Dwyer would fall down.
Just pull that name out of the air.
Yeah, I don't know, random player. Or and I like Diego, but Diego goes down really easily.
He does.
On stuff that Kyrie doesn't go down on. And you have to think Kyrie would get more calls if he was more willing to go to ground. But as an American soccer fan, I don't want to watch that.
Nope.
I'd prefer the game not have flopping and diving. I'd prefer that guys not roll around on the ground pretending like they've been shot.
Hallelujah.
Well, and so I think you mentioned it. Like that's the difference there. That's the difference in those two sports. In basketball, it's they call that foul. Yes, they have to do a little bit of flopping there, but still, you can see if someone really swings their arm hard at LeBron and it might not move him a lot, but they swung and slapped him on the arm. That's still a foul, And then also because the way scoring is, getting disrupted on 1 point isn't that big of a deal. You can just come back and do it again. So that's the big difference there, and that's the point I was making of if they just make these calls, then it prevents the reason players are doing it. Like it seems like such a simple thing to me, and I don't understand why we don't change the way we're calling these things.
Now, in some, I can't even think of the right way to say this. In giving the refs some benefit of the doubt, there are calls that are hard to make, and they're not in the right position, or they don't see the exact right angle, or something like that. So there's a certain amount of them they're not going to get called, but some of them are really freaking blatant. Okay, last year Polito got pulled down in a horse collar in
Minnesota,
and I don't see how that was not obvious to anybody. Okay, I mean, ARs should have both been able to see it. The ref should have been able to see it. It was pretty obvious. Something like that. The injury that Kyrie got when the goalie came out, maybe that's an angle that wasn't perfect and stuff like that. I get that. But again, the one in the game this weekend, that was pretty, there's an arm out on his shoulder and he's being pulled back.
Well, so yeah, I didn't mean to I wasn't just flatly saying they need to make calls better. But on these plays where they would, I guess you're right, they do. But on these plays like where the referee is holding his arms out as an advantage, or everyone on the field knows that was a foul, but this guy stumbled a little bit, got back up and took a shot, and everyone on the field knows that if he didn't take that shot, then there would be a foul called. That right there, like, why? That is what needs to change.
It's not an advantage if you're off balance taking the shot.
Yeah.
I used to foul people like that all the time. Just get them off balance so they know that they're not going to make a good shot.
Yeah, that obviously, those blatant ones get me when they'll take it off balance, but it's so rare anymore because you never get rewarded for it. Players don't even ever do it. So the ones that really get me are like, you don't even know it until afterwards, but it's like, because of that foul, it slipped him up a little bit. The amount of space he got closed down just a minuscule of just a second quicker than he should have been, and the shot just gets disrupted just in the tiniest way. That is what the difference is for me. And if you reward players by giving them that chance and a foul, couple years of that, and all right, diving is donezo.
Agreed. Or just find the Jesus out of them. 10% of your salary.
Okay.
And increasing amounts. Next time, 20%.
Okay, so we are. What else have we not discussed here? We're getting close to needing to wrap this up. We have a hard out. There's a basketball game tonight, Thad, an important game. We're getting close.
What time?
Well, I'm ready to go because I just need to walk across this room over there to the TV and watch. But David here is going to drive home back to a safe place to watch. And I don't blame him. I'm apparently going to watch this game around a North Carolina fan, and I'm not looking forward to it.
All right, so
if we don't have a match preview pod later in the week, what do you think the odds are of us scoring 2 goals against the staunch defense of Nashville?
0%.
0% that will score 2 goals? My God, are we at that point?
Yes.
Oh.
They have a great defense. They play very compact at the back, 3 center backs. They don't give up multiple goals all that often. And
I refuse to believe Nashville is good. It just doesn't seem right in my head.
Well, who put their team together? Oh, come on.
Should I know that?
Yes. Does anybody know this?
Yes.
Okay, Thad, enlighten the man.
Well, what are you leaving the man hanging for like that then?
Because I'm looking at you, because it's much better to watch you
come on.
dangle in the wind. Mike Jacobs, former assistant technical director for Sporting Kansas City.
Well done.
Former coach of Illinois, some team in Illinois, I believe.
Well done, and thank you for letting me flail there all by myself.
Super nice guy, too. Super smart. He actually went about building the team much like Sporting would build a team. He just has the advantage of it being an expansion team.
But hey, we've shut out both opponents at home. Do we even need more than one goal?
Valid point.
It would make everybody feel slightly better.
Yes, it would.
Looking at the team right now, I don't know where goals are coming from. So we need to stop all goals, I think.
I'll go 2-0 win this weekend. Felipe Hernandez and Janice. I'm never right.
When you see the name Janice, when you see it written out, you still say to Zonis in your head, like first, right? In your head, just for a second.
No, I've programmed myself.
I don't know how I'm ever going to get around that. If that is on the screen, there's no way my brain can comprehend that it's Janice.
You know, okay. So
it's to Zonis.
Dumb Midwestern grew up in the Podunk, Missouri kind of dumb question here. Greek food, the sauce that they put on stuff, is it tzatziki sauce or tzatziki sauce?
Tzatziki, love it.
See, it's TZ, right? It should be
Wow, that is a valid point. You're supporting me. I thought you were going to make fun of me, and it was a complete 360 there.
No,
you're in defense.
I went in totally on my own self here, man, because I know that me in pronouncing names that weren't around Orchard Farm, Missouri growing up, I can't handle very well.
That's a fun game. We're going to do this next episode of Midwesternly pronouncing MLS names.
For what it's worth, I know the Cypriots speak Greek, but he is from Cyprus, not Greece. So perhaps there's a thing. I don't know. We're about to jump the shark. So
yeah. I don't know.
That was a valid part of that discussion that I was not picking up on. We're a well-rounded show tonight, guys.
You're correct. And there's probably an accent that they use or something different, but. All right, so quick weekend recap. KC Current lost.
Do we have any good news?
They had their first home game at Children's Mercy Park for this year. Sporting lost. The Comets lost on the road. The next day, Sporting KC2 won on the road at Minnesota United. 2 goals, one by Mateo Bunbury. And then KC Comets lost again, and they are now going into the playoffs.
All right.
Charles.
Any final words? David, how you feeling about this game? Rock Chalk Jayhawk. Let's go, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Don't seem so tough. And 3 own goals ain't all that rough. Our skipper has just been sent off. Supporters strong and all gone soft. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer or whiskey, wine or gin, anything to shake this mood I'm in. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking.